Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and we've got a slip joint today. This is a double detent slip joint knife from TwoSun Knives, the TS362 by RIHE Design. Now, I contacted RIHE Design, not sure how to say his name. He's a guy from China, and I asked him what that acronym means. He said he couldn't figure out a way how to explain what it means in English. So it's some kind of Chinese phrase or saying or something. Probably means something really cool, but I don't know what it is. We've got a end flipper, D2 blade, a sort of spear point type blade, drop point type blade, flat slab G10, sort of, I don't know, what do you call that? Capsule shape. You know, they're even and then rounded on both ends. It's a very simple shape, somewhat elegant on the shape. I've added a little lanyard thing. I'll show you that when we get to the close-ups. And you might be interested in this. It's a knife that's legal pretty much everywhere in the world. You know, it's just a little bit under, well, more like 2 3/4 inches. Is that what it is? A little under that, more 2.66 inches for the blade. So not a big knife, and it's a pretty good pocket knife though. So yeah, if you're curious at all, come around to the tabletop and we're going to take a good close and complete look at this knife. Keep watching. I'm adding this in. Leo K, you're one of my YouTube members. You won the giveaway this time. For December, you won the giveaway. Please contact me, Jake at CanadianCuttingEdge.com, so that we can arrange your prize. Now let's get on to the knife review. There it is. Take a good close look at it before I get my fingerprints all over that blade. Let's get it to focus here. There you go. Beautiful satin finish on there. Now I do know that the light is making it look like there's black on the edge here. You know, there's no burned edges. There's no crisp, you know, they didn't do anything like that. When I do measure the grind angles, I do put black marker, magic marker, Sharpie on there. A lot of that is just tricks of the light, making little dark edges there. But that's beautiful satin finish on there. We do have a stonewash on the flat here, which is kind of odd, just on the spine of the blade. And when I close it up here on the flipper, that's stonewash. The flats are satin, and the main bevel is also satin. So there you go. Sharpener's choil, it's a plenty big enough sharpener's choil. The plunge is kind of gradual, but the sharpener's choil is big enough to fit in there the way it should. The tip, we've got a drop point, sort of a spear point style tip. It's pretty much even on each side. You know, it looks like it's the same angle, same kind of radius, you know, coming up here on the belly and dropping down on the spine. So yeah, you can use this to puncture a little bit as long as you're careful. There's no guard here at all for your hand. So, you know, if you do puncture into something and you come to an abrupt stop, your hand might, and that's not good. Anytime your hand goes, yeah, don't make your hand, use a different sound effect. That'll go better. It's called humor. Humor. Yeah, it's a joke. Anyhow, size comparison. Ontario Rat 1. Let's get that guy on there. Line up these pivot pins. Yeah, it's a little knife. It's not a tiny knife. It's a little knife. Like the handle scale proportions, other than being shorter, it's very much like, you know, a full-sized knife handle, just shortened down. And, you know, it's like a stretched out NASCAR track. You know, it's just with, that's almost like a, but it's just a, and you got the round there, great big lanyard hole on both sides. Now this is a tie-off I put on myself. This does not come with it. I like this tie-off. I don't usually use lanyards on pocket knives, but on this guy, I'm using a tie-off, and I'll tell you why in a minute. We've got flat slab G10. It's black G10 and then one layer of this sort of tan color, which means I can dye this, and I think I probably will dye this because I've dyed this color a few times. You know, a nice blue or a nice purple. I think that would look really nice. We've got a bunch of concentric circles over top of this body screw. Actually, it's just a screw for the D10. Oop, I put the screws back in wrong. I've already recorded the teardown part, and I just realized I put the screws in the wrong place. That screw belongs on the body screw because it's sticking out like crazy in there. You can probably even see it right there. So I'll have to do that in just a minute. anyhow, let's keep talking about this and I'll just not close the knife. Got a back spacer, big opening, and I tied this off just on one side for a reason. I'll show you that in a minute. Just a slightly chamfered edge. Texture on here has enough grip. Feels really good in the hand. How well does the knife cut? It cuts quite well. It's thin behind the grind, not stupid thin. Well, maybe some people are going to think it's stupid thin. It's like a Urban EDC pocket knife. You know, it's a slip joint, very thin, cuts like crazy. The sharpness from the factory, you know, very close to around average, and the blade shape, it's a very useful shape. Very, very useful indeed. And that's most of that. Let's close it up here. Blade alignment. Okay, yeah, like I said, this is after I put it back together. It's slightly off. It was right down the middle from the factory. I got a picture of it right down the middle. When I swap those screws around, I'll fix that. I guess I didn't notice that when I was putting it together. Anyhow, up here you see the front flipper, or end flipper. It's not a traditional flipper because it's not up on this side, but it's an end flipper and works really well. We've got a double detent slip joint knife. So that means we've got arms on both sides that are pushing in. Imagine a little detent ball on the pads of my finger here, holding it in onto the holes there. So 2 detents holding it open, 2 detents holding it closed, and it works quite well. Good retention. You have to hit it fairly hard, to make it start wanting to close, but it's not locked, of course. It's not a locking knife, so that's why it's legal just about everywhere, right? That's the basic shape of it. I like the jimping up here on the flipper tab. Just works really well. It's a good functioning knife. Let me show you it taken apart, and when it comes back, I'm going to fix where that screw is. So here it is mostly taken apart. We've got T8 screws. The pivot screw was free spinning. I just put a little pressure with my finger on the other side. Did not need 2 screwdrivers, not a problem at all. There is an internal body screw over here, which I figured there would be because that screw goes over the blade right there. So let's take that off. And yeah, we did find, oil inside here. The back spacer here, yeah, it's an essential one. There's no step on that body pin there, so you need the back spacer. And we've got something fell. Something fell. Oh, there it is. They put a race in there and ceramic ball bearings. So you've got both ceramic ball bearings and a hardened steel race. That means the liners don't need to be hardened. So that's quite good. I like that. You saw this. There's that open trench there for the stop pin. So we've got a captured stop pin with a closed front. I really like a closed front on a captured stop pin. Very simple construction. Here you can see, the close-up of that. There's the 2 detent holes and then the line that the detent ball follows. And that's why it's got the same force open and closed. We've got 2 detent holes on both sides. Sometimes they make these with 1 detent holding it closed and then 2 detents holding it open. But this one's got 2 detents holding it closed as well, which makes it very safe in your pocket. Although a lot of guys aren't going to carry this in their pocket. They're going to use a sleeve, like I mentioned before. So put it back together now. Put the screws back in their proper places, and as you can see, once it focuses here, the alignment is very good again, like it should be. Yep, and as you see, it works just fine for that. The balance point on this knife, I was talking about it during the teardown, it's right there. I do wish it was a little bit more forward, but it's not terrible. So there's that. And what about this lanyard? Why do I want that? Since there's no pocket clip, I don't like having knives just dropped in my pocket as they are. I got some of these from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Now, Canadians, unfortunately, it's tough to get stuff from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. You can't just order it online. You have to phone them if you're in Canada. Americans, you get no problem. But Canadians, you have to phone them. But they got these. These are just $3-4 a piece. Yeah, they're cheap. It's cheap leather, but it's real leather. It's not that bonded leather crap. It's real leather, and it's a decent sleeve. And so it doesn't matter which way I put it in, but this one is the medium, I believe. I'll confirm on the screen because I'll measure it out. But it fits this knife very well. And then sitting in the pocket like that, that's just great. It's well protected. And these, I'll try to get a link for Amazon for these. These are originally assistant tie-offs for zippers, like on your coats and your parkas and stuff. So if you want an extra tie-off or a pull on a zipper, that's what these are. So yeah, I said it twice, didn't I? Did you figure it out? I tie it off just on one side. If you tie it off on two sides, it gets bulky, right? So, and then I put it in with the knot, you know, knot on the side that touches this leather. And it just works really well to hold that in there. So happy with that. Of course, you can get more expensive sleeves. Dave Warren over at TwoSun Knife, he's got some awesome sleeves. Some of them are handmade in Germany and some other really nice leather sleeves that are just stunning. Yeah, they do cost a little bit, but they're just stunningly nice. So there's that. That's pretty much the overview of all that stuff. Let's go over all the sizes, dimensions, and stuff like that. The weight of this knife, minus the little lanyard, from the factory weight, 83 grams, 2.93 ounces. Sharpness from the factory, 150 best, so just a tiny bit less sharp than average, but very sharp. The cutting edge length, 64 millimeters, 2.52 inches. Blade length, tip to the closest spot on the handle scales, is 67.5 millimeters, 2.66 inches. The thickness of the blade stock, 3.77 millimeters, 0.148 of an inch, so well over an eighth of an inch. Nice, sturdy, chunky stock, but it comes nice and thin here. 0.31 millimeters, 12 thousandths of an inch is the average thickness right behind the edge. That's one of the reasons why it cuts so very, very well. Oh, I didn't do the blade depth. This measurement here is just under an inch. 23.5 millimeters, 0.925 of an inch. And the grind angles are next. The grind angles, they're very consistent. This side's got an average of 22.3. This side's got an average of 21.8. Started at 22.2, ended at 21.5, 0.7 degrees change, very good. This side started at 22.2, went to 22.4, that's 0.2 degrees of change. So whoever is sharpening this at TwoSun Knives is doing a very consistent job. D2 steel on a knife like this, I think the steepest I would make it would be 18 degrees per side. But you do what you want for your knives. Hey, if they're your knives, you do whatever you want. Let's keep going on with the measurements. The handle length, and not counting, of course, that lanyard, 95.1 millimeters, 3.74 inches. And the grip area, since it's sort of rounded coming off, I sort of said it's about 8.5 centimeters, 3 1/3 inches. The thickness of the handle scales, not counting the screws, so right on the slabs here, 12.4 millimeters, 0.488 of an inch, so a little under half an inch. This measurement, open and closed, it's almost the same. It's just a tiny bit more when it's closed. This is 25.0 millimeters, 0.984, and then it's just under an inch. It's just a tiny bit thicker for part of the section up here. And the total length of this knife when it's open, of course not counting the lanyard, is about 169 millimeters, 6.65 inches. There you go. What's the price? That's another one of the specs. White Mountain Knives. If I can find it at other stores, I'll leave the links, but I couldn't find it anywhere else. White Mountain Knives has this for $64.99 US. You save 10% with coupon code CCE, and that makes it $58.49. 58.5 US dollars. That's about 80 Canadian dollars. Canadians, this is a double detent slip joint knife. If you buy this from White Mountain Knives, it will come to you. It might get delayed by CBSA, but you know, you've got a 99.99999% chance of this having, you know, getting to your house. You know, barring some crazy instance or something. But yeah, slip joint knives, double detent slip joint knives, 100% legal in Canada for under everybody's definition, not just the law, even CBSA agrees. The summary, what do I think of this knife? I would have liked a pocket clip. I really would have preferred a pocket clip, and then I wouldn't need to use a sleeve, and I wouldn't need to have a pull on it. That's one thing. Second thing, I think the price is just a little bit too steep. It's just a little bit too high for what you get, unless you really want it. You know, if you really want it, that's okay. I didn't talk about the badging on this really because it's so very obvious. You know, I mentioned the circles, you know, big TwoSun over there and the big RIHE design right there. I'd prefer something smaller. Like, I just don't like it that much. Like, the circle motif is kind of cool. The names and stuff, you know, maybe, you know, put TwoSun along the spine. Put it there. TwoSun RIHE design. Put that right on there. That'd be great. The other badging is up here. TS362 D2 steel, and that's nice and small, and it's on the flat, leaving the main bevels clean. So badging, it's kind of a mixture of like and dislike. The lanyard hole, yeah, I like it. It's big, it's not in the way. The stop pin, the way they use it, I like that it's totally closed up front. That helps keep lint from getting in there. I like the really clean lines on this thing. I like that the flipper is good, but it's not hard, or well, it's hard because it's steel, but it's not sharp, it's not edgy, but it's fully functional. It's kind of nice. Easy to tear down, easy to do maintenance, just don't lose those tiny little races, and you know, comfortable in hand. It fits a full-size hand. My hands are just barely in the extra large range, and there you go. It fits completely. No guard for puncturing, but the blade shape is very efficient, very useful. I love that it's so thin behind the grind. Loads of cons. Sorry, loads of pros. Freud, get out of my head. Loads of pros. I do like this. Honest, I do. And I just wish I could keep every knife that I review, because I'd love to keep this thing. I'll probably dye it, and then that might help it sell for a better price. I don't know. We'll see. And there you go. Thanks, my friends, for watching. Thank you to my financial supporters. Every month you give a little bit of help. Hey, remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.